My parents were grandma and grandpa to our kids. As grandma and grandpa, they played an important role in our children's lives. As new grandparents ourselves now, I'm hoping we'll be able to leave as happy memories for our grandgirl and any other grandchildren we may be fortunate enough to have in the future, as our kids got from my parents. So I hope you enjoy listening to the stories of Grandma and Grandpa as told by the grandkids. Thank you.
Well, I definitely enjoyed when we would go to the park on, I guess it was Leland Street Park or something, and Grandpa would chase us around the playground and he would push us in the swings. So that was definitely something that I enjoyed.
You would chase us around and then we would take off our shoes and go stinky shoes.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I remember that one.
That's okay, yeah. I liked going to their house when they had the two cats, Shanti and Yamaha, and they had the little cat door in their basement.
Well, Josh, what are some of your favorite memories?
Going to the beach.
Going to the beach.
Oh, definitely going to the beach.
What do you remember about going to the beach?
Well, a lot of things are going on.
Funland.
Oh yeah, going to Funland.
There's the skee ball and then the dragon.
The dragon thing that would take you back and forth. And going on the blow-up rafts at the beach. Those were fun. On the boogie boards and.
What do you think about the beach house?
Oh, the beach house was so much fun, and they had well, because we got to be in bunk beds sometimes. Wasn't there bunk beds?
Bunk beds,
yeah, there was bunk beds and
the deck.
Going on the deck on the top of the beach house. That was really fun.
Now, Joshua, I don't know if you remember, but there were certain things you really liked about being at the beach house. Because Mom wasn't there, and Grandpa, what did Grandpa, do you remember what Grandpa did?
Grandpa would let us watch movies we weren't allowed to watch.
Oh yeah, we watched part of Jaws, and then Mom flipped her lid and got really mad about that. You were a little...
And donuts and soda for breakfast.
Yeah, we would eat way more junk food than we were supposed to.
We would wake up every morning and then go walk to the donut place. You wouldn't come with us all the time.
Oh yeah. The Murtagh clan would go on a walk down to the town.
And then there were the treasure hunts.
So what do you remember about the treasure hunts?
Well, he would leave clues all over. I don't know when, I don't know when he would have done it. Maybe like the first day or two that we were there. He must have put the clues out. Or, I don't know. But the clues were just there. So we would do the treasure hunts and go all over Rehoboth and see different things there. Sometimes
historic sites and stuff.
Yeah, sometimes historic sites, and then
the graveyards and stuff.
And then we would get a big pile of money at the end.
Did you like that?
Yeah. Now as an adult, I realized that was Grandpa's way of getting rid of all his change. But to us, it was so exciting because it was more money than we ever saw at one time. When JD started going with us, I wasn't a huge fan of that because that meant we had to split the money three ways rather than 2 ways. The beach. I mean, definitely going to the boardwalk and getting like the boardwalk pizza and fries. You know, that was kind of different than what we would eat here. And they would buy the corn, like the fresh corn that grew there. That was really, really good. And
Josh, do you remember when Seagull got your pizza?
I don't remember it.
People talk about it a lot. And they also would take us places on the weekends.
Like where?
Like we would go to DC. We would take the metro a lot to DC. And I remember Grandma would always tell us not to grab the poles. And what did we do? We grabbed the poles, and sometimes we would try to climb up them and swing around on them. And she was just trying to keep us from getting sick, and our hands would be black at the end of the ride because they were so dirty. But we actually enjoyed the metro probably as much as anything else that we did, because the metro was really exciting.
So where'd you go downtown? Remember?
Museums.
Yeah, I remember going to the Air and Space Museum probably a couple times.
The Natural History one.
Definitely, we went a lot of times to the Natural History Museum.
We went once with JD to the Baltimore Aquarium.
Did they take us?
Yeah. Or at least they took me and JD. I don't know if you were.
Maybe, I don't
We would
remember.
go to the zoo too.
Yeah, I know we went to the Washington
Washington,
D.C.
D.C.
Zoo, the Smithsonian Zoo, a whole bunch of times. And the art museums and the botanical gardens. They took us all over D.C. and the monuments.
Monaco too.
Oh, they
It
would
was
take
like-
us definitely like to nature centers and parks. I know that I used to be very interested in reptiles, but I think
That's where it came
I don't
from.
have a lot of memories from before I was about 10. So I know that they did take us a lot of places, but other than the zoo, I don't remember where else that was related to herpetology.
Well, they took you and you were able to play with it. You hold the snakes and for years, that's all you talked about was herpetology.
Yeah, I remember people told me the story that I let the person put a big snake around my neck.
And you remember the time you were in the Chinese New Year parade?
Yes, that was a mixed memory. The people approached Grandma and Grandpa and said that I was the perfect size for the tiger costume, and they made me get into the tiger costume. And some of the people were speaking Chinese, obviously, because it was Chinese New Year. And I didn't really know what was going on, so I just walked and waved, but at one point I got in the way of the dragon. So somebody had to come and pull me out of the way, and they were yelling at me. Not Grandma and Grandpa, but people in the parade were yelling. They said, "Move the tiger! Move the tiger!" But things like that probably helped build self-confidence, so that is kind of funny. Was it them that bought him? He had a whole pirate outfit with
Pirate
like a
outfit,
cutlass
yes.
and a striped shirt and
And
very piratey stuff.
Revolutionary War weapons and
Yeah, he had the replica musket.
muskets
It was like this
and I
long,
think, yeah, he had all sorts of armaments because Mom was just adamant. No, Joshua was not to have guns. He was gonna have a peaceful disposition.
childhood. But they definitely gave a lot of good presents. Christmas and birthdays were always
what do you
very
remember about that?
exciting. Well, we always got a big stack of books. Grandma always got us a whole bunch of different books. And we usually got some clothes too, but as little kids, probably the highlight was the toys, typically. And then the checks, which were always handed right to Dad, but we realized now the checks were super important because they paid for a lot of our college education.
My favorite gift, it was a Stormtrooper blaster and then a Han Solo blaster.
Oh yeah. I thought you were going to say the Game Boy.
The Game Boy
But
was
you
fun.
liked the blasters.
The blasters
The
were the
blasters
best.
were a lot of fun. Those were
They made
definitely
noises.
Yeah, because they made sort of realistic Star Wars noises. I don't know, of all the presents, I mean, they gave so many good presents, but
They gave you the kitchen set.
the kitchen set,
Remember
yeah,
the
probably
kitchen?
as a little kid, that was one of my favorite toys that I ever had. When I was older, I think the iPod, because they got me an iPod right when those were just becoming popular. I didn't even really know that much about iPods at that point, but they got me one of the nice iPods.
They got me an iPad, which was for my education.
Oh, for your education,
But it
yeah.
quickly became a Netflix and video game device.
We don't want them to know that. Well, they and I know that they also helped pay for our horseback riding and swimming, and they helped my parents pay for a lot of the things that we were able to do. But I would say definitely, I mean, financially, they had a wonderful impact on our lives. I'm not sure that I would have been able to go to Messiah, you know, if it weren't for the contributions that they had made. So that was definitely helpful. All the educational things that they did with us, which we might not have even thought of them as educational, but, you know, taking us to all different types of restaurants. So, you know, again, looking back, as an 8-year-old or a 7-year-old, I might not realize it, but a lot of people my age wouldn't have eaten at a Japanese restaurant and a Thai restaurant and an authentic Mexican restaurant. You know, they kind of exposed us to a lot of different things.
What about the books? Do you remember any books that they had given you?
Well, didn't they give me some of the American Girl books?
Yeah.
Did they give me the American Girl doll too, Felicity?
I think so,
they
yeah.
gave.
Yeah.
So I definitely learned a lot about history from the books that they gave me. I remember they gave a lot of the like historical fiction, because I loved historical fiction. So I know they gave a lot of those. But taking us to the museums and zoos and, you know, again, as I've gotten older and I've talked to other people, I've realized a lot of kids don't have that growing up. And I think that was a big blessing that we had so many adults that were willing to invest their time and their money in our they encouraged our interest in nature, going outside. They took us, well, you might not remember, but they took us sledding when we were little. There's pictures of Grandma on the sled with us. Or maybe just with, you might not have been too little, but I know she was on the sled with me.
Yes.
And I remember Grandma this is not related to education, but Grandma liked to shop with me. So we would, once I got a little older, and you know, it's harder to buy clothes for an older kid, but they would take me shopping for books or for swimsuits. So that was something that I remember doing with Grandma, maybe more so than with Grandpa, but we would go and buy outfits for the next year, or she would let me pick out a book and then she would buy it for me. And then I would act surprised at Christmas, at the Christmas party, you know, but that was her way of making sure that it was something that we really wanted and that would be a good fit, something that was what we really needed. You and Grandpa went hiking something, like the three of
we
you.
went to the Blue Ridge, Shenandoah. What do you remember of the Shenandoah Valley?
We went out hiking there.
What do you remember about it? Do you remember much? Do you remember the cabins, or not the cabin, the hotel, or
Yeah.
the food? And we stayed there for a few days. And
Do you remember Grandpa letting us watch Xena Warrior Princess? And we definitely would not have been supposed to watch that, but we would watch that on their TV and in the little side room that they have. That was definitely fun.
I guess before this is before you could remember, but they were very helpful and provide. Maybe you, Sarah Catherine, could appreciate this. You know, both of us were working. Your mother and I were working, and Grandpa would come over and basically watch you and probably Joshua too, because when you were at Montrose daycare, you all would get sick a lot.
Yeah.
And many times Grandpa came over and helped watch you and take care of you all, and that was also, that was maybe more for
you
us,
guys.
yes, but I think now, Sarah Catherine, that you had to deal with. I
can definitely appreciate that.
That was something really big that they did for the whole family.
And taking us to the pancake house.
What do you remember about the pancake house?
No, I would always get French toast. The French toast there was so good. And then every Easter, I think it was, they would take us to. Later we went to La Ferme, but before there was another restaurant. It was kind of far away.
Peter Pan, or was it?
I don't remember, but it was kind of a French type restaurant, I think, and they would take the whole family there. And that was definitely something that, again, not many kids our age got to do. You know, we got to see these beautiful, fancy restaurants. And we could We'd also get the bagel dogs. Those were really good.
Well,
Yeah, they would go to the swim meets, gymnastics meets,
Was there
help try to make us feel better if we didn't win. I remember them trying to boost my morale. I think it was one of my first gymnastics meets, and I had not done very well, you know, but they bought me, I think they bought me, it was some sort of, they bought me flowers, and they also bought something that was kind of personalized. It had a picture of me. I think it was maybe Dad, do you remember? It had a picture of a girl with a braid, and it had my name on it. And it was something that they bought me at a gymnastics meet. It was personalized. And I can tell you exactly what it looks like,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it was, I think it was some sort of decorative item, but it was very nice. I kept it
Okay.
displayed for a long time. But they did it, I think, because I wasn't, you know, I was feeling kind of sad at the end, and they wanted to help me feel better on video.
I know, it's hard.
There's so much to say.
Josh, I mean, what's the one thing you think, I mean, when you think about like Grandpa, what's one thing you think about Grandpa?
We went to the Marine Corps Museum one time together.
And why was that? Why does that stick out to you?
It was fun to go there.
I think Grandpa, something that would stick out is definitely fun. Grandpa liked to make sure that you were having fun, and he wanted you to learn, but he definitely wanted to do things that were fun and that were exciting. And we would joke about movies that, you know, if we went to a movie, either Grandma or Grandpa liked it.
Yeah.
If it was kind of serious and educational, and maybe like a drama, then Grandma liked it. If it was loud and there were a lot of explosions and car chases or pirates, then probably Grandpa liked it. It was very rare to find kind of a niche that both of them liked. Maybe if it was a drama that had pirates, then they would have both liked it. But he liked to take us to the Batman, that kind of thing. And Grandma was a little bit more, I think, focused on kind of the educational, you know, learning, broadening and opening our minds. But that, I mean, you need both, but they're both helpful and both are important. But they just approach things differently. And Grandma definitely encouraged us to be interested in art, which that was not something Grandpa was very interested in, I don't think.
And you were pretty talented in
And
art.
so were you.
So was I. I think maybe that's where we got some of
I
our
think that's where the gene came from.
genes. Yeah.
Because Grandma, we still have the paintings that Grandma did of me with the cat. And was the one of you was in the cornfield, right?
Yeah.
Like based on Alabama.
Do you remember going out to the Montgomery County Fair?
Maybe vaguely. There's a lot of pictures of us petting animals, I think, and like posing in the tractors and stuff like that.
Because I know Joshua liked the rabbits.
Something else, they both really liked our dogs. And Snuggles was afraid of Grandpa at first. But didn't he give him treats?
Treats. So you'd always bring treats.
Every time, yeah, he would bring his own treats every time, so that when Snuggles would get upset, he would just kind of casually slip him a treat. And after a while, Snuggles would be happy to see him because he knew he was the treat man. And the dogs both liked Grandma right away, I think. She didn't have to do any wooing or any bribery.
I remember going to the Chesapeake Beach, I think, and then we found shark teeth. And then building sandcastles.
So Grandpa helped you with sandcastles?
I believe so. And I remember when we went to Rehoboth, I would do the scavenger hunts. They were fun.
Do you remember going out to dinner or going to Funland at all?
Oh yes, Funland. I remember going to Funland, riding all the different rides. I think my favorite was the teacup ride.
That was also your mom's favorite. that was the only one she would go on with us, I think. We said we liked the Viking ship. That was our favorite. I always do this sometimes.
I didn't like that one.
No, you didn't?
I remember on Christmas that I would get these big Lego sets, and I would end up building them probably the next day. So, and then I guess whenever I started getting cash, so.
And I seem to remember that you helped him quite a bit with the computers.
Right. Yeah.
You were his sort of his technical support.
Right. Yeah. I would, like when Grandpa wanted to get a certain word processor that was like older, I helped him install that, and I ended up clearing his browser cookies, and
Do you remember, I don't know if you were old enough to remember their cats, Grandma and Grandpa's cats?
I remember there was
Yamaha and
Shanti.
Shanti.
That was one of our favorite things to do at their house was chase Shanti and Yamaha around the house.
I have a picture of JD, like they had the basement door and then there was a
The
little,
hole.
like a little
It's a
hole.
cat door.
And I have a picture of JD laying down and his head is going through that hole because he's looking for the cat.
Didn't they have to add an extra piece of wood so he couldn't keep going down with it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he was gonna fall down.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I know Josh and Sarah Catherine remember all the movies that we wouldn't have taken them to because they were kind of inappropriate.
Yeah, that was something that was fun. We would say that Grandpa would let you watch those action thrillers that your mom probably had said she wasn't sure about, you know. Or when we went to the beach house, sometimes the rules would get a little bit curved or bent in terms of, like I said, I know we started watching Jaws when we were there, and my mom had said that was too scary for us.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you would, but your mom was always there at the beach house, so you didn't get away with as
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
You what?
Ratatouille. Oh yeah, we saw
Ratatouille, yeah.
Ratatouille when we went to the beach. That was
Yeah.
like the whole
I remember
family.
that movie.
A whole bunch of us went to see that.
What is this? Moby Dick?
Oh,
Your
getting
favorite
food from
Yeah,
Moby Dick.
that was
Oh
probably
yeah.
my favorite.
You like going to Moby
That
Dick's?
was, well, they would always bring it home.
Right,
Like they
yeah.
would bring it to their
We did that at the
house.
table. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely good. And because the kids are picky, they would bring. Well, I don't know, you didn't really eat pizza, but they would get pizza for us because we were a little picky. So they wanted to give us something else.
Well, they had the vegetable
Wraps.
wraps.
So
So
Yeah.
Grandma
we
would
were-
get the vegetable wrap,
Right.
and then the rest of us would get like a
Chicken.
chicken kebab.
They do
Yeah.
the chicken and the
That
vegetable wraps
place
and the
really good.
pizza.
Yeah.
And
The food was always good.
And then all the ice cream.
Oh yeah, the cakes and the
Cakes
ice cream.
and ice creams.
Big
and-
cookies.
oh, you got a big, huge,
The
humongous
big
cookie
cookie.
one time with your name on it, and she took
Oh.
you out, and you were just all smiles because it was this huge, big plate of a cookie.
That's
with
actually
icing on
good.
it.
Do you remember the flag waving? You remember going to the flag, laying down the flags at the cemetery?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was definitely.
Yeah.
So what did you all think about that little taking part in that family tradition? Sarah Catherine and Joshua, did you go? No, Joshua didn't.
Joshua was
No,
working.
Sarah Catherine went.
But Dan and I went.
Yeah. So were you all happy to take part in that family
Oh,
tradition?
that was very interesting.
Yeah.
And I liked actually getting to see some of those relatives that I hadn't, seen in a long time. But that was very interesting, and seeing kind of where the Murtaghs are from. I know you'd taken us to Massachusetts when we were younger, but I don't remember that. So that was very nice to kind of see some of our family history and go to the little schoolhouse. That was very interesting. And seeing the inn, the Wayside Inn, I think.
Oh
is the
yes,
name
we
of
ate
it.
at the Wayside
We
Inn.
ate it and took the pictures in the fireplace, and that was very cool.
Teacups. Baby.
What was that restaurant that they would always be at that had the fresh fish at the beach? You and Joshua would get under the table, and it was a really fancy.
Family dinner when we were
But I
there.
have to say, we got a very wide
No,
range
don't
of
throw it.
experiences. We got
Different.
to eat all different types of foods and see all different places. much more so than a lot of other
average.
kids.
I think
we were
way
very
more than the-
fortunate in that. Even if we didn't like every single
Rusty
thing,
rudder.
There you go.
the Rusty Brother.
Yeah, I thought it was some anchor, but it's a rusty
We
rudder.
used to call it rusted rudder.
Rusty rudder, that's where we went.
Yeah, I think you kids just don't realize how much you got because it just seemed like everyday sort of thing. But a lot of kids don't get that kind of experience.
Yeah, they definitely took us to a lot of
Yeah,
plays.
different-
We
yeah,
saw
yeah.
Shakespeare
Different
plays with them and
Yeah.
Frog and Toad.
Oh, you
I
remember
remember we
Frog?
went to
Frog
see
and
Frog and
Toad.
Toad on the stage. That was probably one of my favorite things that we did, was
What's
seeing
the
Frog
stage?
and Toad.
What about the there was the Charles Dickens
The Christmas.
Christmas Carol. Do you
Yeah.
remember that, Jay? You seen the Christmas Carol?
Not really.
Not really.
I mean, he is so much
Yeah, I
younger, so
know.
a lot of things that we remember as kids, he was very little.
I think a
So I
lot of
think
the things,
that's-
kind of got cut back on. They did less and less. So Sarah, Catherine, and Joshua got to do a lot of the. They went to a lot of theater shows, movies, theater.
Who's that?
JD, were you old enough to remember the one that was called Broadway Christmas Carol? It was funny, and they threw a little chicken at the end.
I remember.
Joshua liked that one, but I don't know if you were old enough to
I don't
remember.
that.
And there was a song where it was like Tiny Tim was singing, "I'll get even."
Yeah,
tomorrow,
I remember
tomorrow."
that.
He wasn't a
That was
sweet little
funny.
kid. He's like, "I'll get even with you for teasing me."
Yes. Yeah.
But maybe you weren't old enough to remember that one.
How about the Chicken Run movie?
Oh, Chicken
yeah.
Run.
Chicken Run. I mean,
Oh,
you think of that
isn't
Chicken
that,
Run, the vegetarian?
Yes,
that-
yes. They didn't like us being vegetarian, but Grandma wanted us to watch Chicken Run, where the characters are Wait, how do you say it?
Anthropomorphized.
Yeah, they're chickens that act like humans.
Yep.
And then she wondered why we became vegetarians. And they were fighting against the farmers, and Joshua took the message very seriously. And he's now a vegan.
Yep.
So Grandma wasn't very happy about us being vegetarians at the
I
time.
think they were. I think
Worried.
that was an understatement.
Yeah, but I think that honestly, that was one of the big influences. I mean, I know the fish.
Chicken
We had
Run.
the fish tank.
Yes.
But the Chicken Run movie did
Yeah.
Because he was
influence his
just
ideas.
old enough. Joshua, I think, was just old enough to get very concerned
About the
about the chickens, about the animals. Yeah.
Well, John, whenever I was pregnant and we went down and we were going to announce it to them, remember how you tricked them? Well, we were going out to a restaurant with them, and we were getting in the car, and so your dad asked how many were getting in the car, right?
Oh.
And so then he counted and said, "Oh yeah, this many," because their Bonnie was there. And you said no, and then you added one to it, and your mom they just looked at you like, "What are you talking about? You're all confused." And then I said, "I'm pregnant."
Oh. I didn't know that. I didn't. I don't know if I was there. I didn't remember what. That's so cute. That was when they first knew of your existence.
Well, I know that they were very. I think they were in shock when we told them that we were going to expect Sarah Catherine, because we'd been married 10 years and.
They thought the Murtagh line had ended.
They thought it had ended. There was no kids in the horizon. And then we told them, they got very excited. And,
3 very nice grandkids.
yeah, so they got 3 kids, yes, 3 grandkids.
And you came to our wedding in utero.
That's
Oh,
right.
don't throw things, Katie.
So I always know
Work
that,
on that.
we just figure out how long you've been married. Because you have to take 10 years,
Plus my age.
yeah.
Oh goodness. You've been
That
married a long time.
you got
I
married.
just added it up in my head.
A little, just if Sarah Catherine's 27 years, you must have been married 26.
And that means you've been married 37.
37,
To
yeah.
the dad.
Wait,
the
is
day.
today your
To-
anniversary?
Oh,
Happy anniversary!
I didn't know
The
that.
day.
Are you gonna be